Jai Gurudev Guruji.
Say good.
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is on record as saying that an ideal life can be had only by attaining 99% cosmic consciousness in the current life, then returning to enjoy glorified cosmic consciousness, that is, God consciousness, and unity consciousness in our next life. Is this type of arrangement possible, and could this explain why Gurudev attained unity consciousness at such a young age? Could this also be the mechanism by which the Dalai Lama is able to return for multiple incarnations?
I know Dalai Lama, and he told me that he's not planning to return. There's not going to be any more incarnations of Dalai Lama. And he should know he's Dalai Lama. See, the thing is, what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, my master, is referring to is there are 3 stages of enlightenment: cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, which is glorified cosmic consciousness, and unity consciousness. So let's give a quick review on what these are, just so listeners who are all new to this understand it. 7 states of consciousness altogether. Sleep state, you all know about sleep state. You woke up sometime in the last few hours. And then dream state, that thing that happens during sleep. And sometimes it happens in the waking state too, because people say to you, you think that's going to be happening? You're dreaming. So dreaming consciousness is either something that happens when we're sleeping, or it happens if we're completely deluded about something in the waking state. Then there's waking consciousness. We're very familiar with these 3: waking, sleeping, dreaming, waking, sleeping, dreaming. And when we're awake, the extent to which the wakefulness makes us tired affects the way that we sleep. And when we sleep, the extent to which we rest in sleepfulness and sleepiness gives us how much wakefulness we're going to have. And dream allows release of stress while sleeping. That's also affected by the waking state. It's affected by the sleep state. We can't dream without sleeping. And waking affects how much we sleep, and sleep affects how awake we are. So we call these states relative because they're related to each other. They're relative because they're ever-changing, but they're related to each other. Then there's a 4th state, Turiya. In Sanskrit, we say Turiya, T-U-R-I-Y-A, Turiya. The 4th state. It is the transcendental state that underlies all of the other 3. So in the waking state, you can kind of pull the waking state apart and practice Vedic meditation, and you can drop into an underlying condition of pure consciousness, consciousness standing alone, without thoughts, without activity. That's the 4th state. When you learn Vedic meditation and you learn how to drop into the 4th state and you experience that with sufficient frequency, it purifies the nervous system, purifies the physiology, but it awakens that transcendental state, and it causes the transcendental state no longer to be transcendental. Transcendental means it's beyond, right? When you've awakened it sufficiently, it will persist during the waking state. It will persist and be experienced by you during the sleep state. It'll persist and be experienced by you during dreaming state. So when we have the 4th state combining itself with waking, dreaming, and sleeping, that 4th state is a state of complete fulfillment. It's a state of knowingness about my deep inner reality. The I inside here is only describable by this baseline reality, this thing that never changes. And everything else changes, but this thing doesn't change, and this is the real me. When that's the experience, and that's going on all the time, we call that all-inclusive awareness. All-inclusive is easier to say in one word: cosmic. Cosmic, the real meaning of the word is all-inclusive. So cosmic consciousness, all-inclusive awareness, is I'm aware of the backdrop of being, pure being, while in the foreground, the body is going through waking, dreaming, and sleeping states. This is the first stage of enlightenment. Now, if we have lived long enough and the body is old and decrepit by the time we get to cosmic consciousness, and we wish to have more time in the next states of consciousness, we might suspend our full enlightenment at 99, to use Maharishi's analogy, 99%, and let the body drop, let the body die at a time that's suitable, whatever age it might be, some suitable time, because body's cascading into the death cascade anyway. That's what human bodies do. From the moment the sperm meets the egg and the zygote is formed, that's pre-embryotic. And then the embryo, the fetus, the neonate, the newborn baby. From the time the sperm meets the egg, the death cascade has started. And it's not just the living cascade, it's how that body's going to die is already programmed into those cells. So you can postpone full cosmic consciousness and allow the body to die so that when you get born, because if you're not in cosmic consciousness, you will be reborn, you'll be reincarnated. When you get born, then you can do that last 1%, have full cosmic consciousness, and then have God consciousness. Now, what is God consciousness? God consciousness. So here's this beautiful little flower. And inside this flower is colorless sap. The colorless sap, that's the transcendental aspect of the flower in our analogy. That colorless sap has the potential for yellow. It has the potential for green sepal. It has the potential for the shape of green stem. But the colorless sap is not a stem. It's not a sepal. It's not a petal. It's none of these things. It's formless and it is colorless. But it can make itself into anything in this flower. It can make itself into that. Now, where does the colorless sap begin to change into yellow? Where does it begin to change into green? Where does it begin to change into a shape? From its shapeless, formless, colorlessness, it has to begin to become something. When the underlying transcendental field of pure being begins to manifest, when the unmanifest begins to come into manifestation, when being begins becoming, then something is coming out of the unmanifest first. And what is that? In the metaphysical language of Veda, we refer to it as the celestial layer. The celestial layer, what is that? All the laws of nature emerging out of the one indivisible whole unified field, emerging out of it. The first thing to emerge are the laws of nature, and there they are personified. You'll experience those laws of nature in terms of not just capital B, being, but beings, be small, beings. And there is a being which for you will be experienced as supreme amongst all those beings that's experienceable. And that you would consider to be your ideal of supreme, a being that is supreme. It starts to become visible on the level of the senses. One can taste, touch, see, smell, and hear that which is supreme, this emerging first out of the unified field on the level of senses. This is the next state of consciousness. So we have sleep, 1, dream, 2, waking, 3, transcendental state, when we learn to meditate, 4, cosmic consciousness, permanent backdrop of the transcendental, 5, fifth consciousness state. Sixth consciousness state, God consciousness. The capacity to directly perceive supreme intelligence personified. Supreme in the relative world, supreme. Unity consciousness, what would that be? The seventh state. That's the state of consciousness where that deep inner state of being that you are, and you have been, you've realized your status as that ever since cosmic consciousness. You realized your status as that. That deep inner state of being is able to experience through the senses the transcendental state of being in every object, in every form, in every phenomenon. Being no longer is merely my own inner status, which it has been ever since CC, cosmic consciousness. It is now also the perceptible status of everything that falls within my range of perception. The self is experiencing the self everywhere. Unity. Unity has occurred. So, cosmic consciousness, once that's attained to, full 100% cosmic consciousness, no more reincarnation. There's no more reincarnation. If the body and the mind inside the body has reached cosmic consciousness, then if the body dies, supposing by some mistake I walk off this 11th floor of this building and slip and go hurtling down to the footpath, but I'm in cosmic consciousness, right when I splat, for a second or two before the body dies, there's going to be God consciousness, unity consciousness, and then that's the end, right? Anyone who gets 100% CC dies in unity consciousness. The body dies. They don't die. Their consciousness is everywhere. It can't die. It's the unified field itself. A body dies. But 99% cosmic consciousness, splat. And then next thing you know, wah, wah. A very enlightened baby, 99% cosmic consciousness baby, who then, what does that baby need in order to get to full 100% cosmic consciousness? There's only 1% left. And then to get to God consciousness unity. Now, this explains why sometimes we come across, historically, there are characters that we've come across who they got born and shortly after birth already enlightened. Shortly after birth, fully enlightened within a very short space of time, straight after wah, 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 and then enlightenment. And then God consciousness, and then unity consciousness. There are several instances of these in most cultures that have a spiritual tradition. We'll find instances, historic instances of these. One I can think of whom I met was Anandamayi. Anandamayi was a great Indian woman saint who lived from the late 19th century up until about 1985 or 6, something like that. She was a friend of Maharishi. She had no guru. She had no teacher. She was born and she was in a full enlightened state of consciousness before she was out of her single digits of body life. And she lived her whole life as one of the greatest saints of India, Anandamayi. If you want to look her up, one of the most astonishingly beautiful faces to look at imaginable. Her period of time of life was there at the advent of photography, when photography was first invented and became popular in India. And one of the consequences of that was she was one of the most photographed people ever in the history of India. There are literally thousands of photographs of her. So Ananda, A-N-A-N-D-A, Ananda, Mayima, M-A-Y-I-M-A, Anandamayi, Anandamayi. And I knew her. She was someone I had contact with her. And she was a close friend of my teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. She was a great example. Maharishi wasn't like that. He was not born enlightened. He had to gain his enlightenment by meeting his master and beginning his spiritual program, which he didn't begin until he was well into his mid-30s. That's when he began his process of gaining enlightenment. The greatest teacher on earth, in my opinion, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. In a certain way, far more relevant as a teacher than even Anandamayi, though I have complete respect for her. Why? Because he lived a life without enlightenment, and so he knew what his students were experiencing. Those who were going to be his students, he knew what it was like not to have cosmic consciousness. Anandamayi, she had no idea what it was like to have not cosmic consciousness, because maybe she got up to 99% and then splat, and then got born and got the next 1%, and then got God consciousness, and then got unity consciousness like that. So this whole thing of Maharishi's quotation, I sense from having known him absolutely intimately for more than a quarter of a century, he was being very playful when he gave that comment that he's on the record of having said. Yeah. There's other ways. You don't have to go all the way to 99% and then splat and then finish the 1% and then get the GC and UC thing. You can do what he did, which is cosmic consciousness and then God consciousness and then and then live life in unity consciousness for decades. Getting born almost enlightened. Nobody gets born enlightened. Nobody gets born enlightened because once fully enlightened, once fully in cosmic consciousness, one can't go anywhere because already you are everywhere. The individuality as stage by stage unified with its cosmic counterpart. Individual mind has unified with cosmic mind. Individual intellect has unified with cosmic intellect. Individual fine level of feeling, emotion has merged with universal emotion. Individual ego has merged with universal ego. So there is a body that hasn't merged yet. But inside that body is nothing but cosmic mergers. That's all. It's all cosmic inside there. When that body drops, there's no soul inside that body that can leave the body and go someplace. Because inside that body is the everything everywhere-ness. The everything everywhere-ness is living in the body. That's all that's in that body. There's no individual soul in there. There's universe sitting inside of a body, looking out through the eyes of that body, hearing through those ears, tasting through that tongue and all of that. Enchiladas or whatever. So the cosmos is all that's in there. When the body drops, there's nothing that can go anywhere. The everything everywhere-ness is all that's been in there for however many years since full-blown cosmic consciousness. So if we were arriving at cosmic consciousness very late in body life, Maharishi in his slightly jocular way was saying you could put an end, you could slow down the process of complete enlightenment and just allow the body to die in a natural way, and then pick up the program again in the next life and get to 100% CC and then get God consciousness and unity consciousness and live all of that for years. You could have years of it because it requires a body. Now, this is a really interesting thing. It takes a body to have heaven on earth. You know, heaven on earth, the Vedic tradition is the only tradition on earth, not Buddhism, not Christianity, not Judaism, not any of these theologies or anything. All of those talk about how bodies are somehow an obstacle to heaven. Once the body's over with, then you get to the real place or whatever. Get the nuisance of the body out of the way. The Vedic worldview is the only singular worldview in which heaven is body dependent. If you want to live heaven, you live it on earth. You live it in a body. And so if you can get your body to last a long time, get enlightened and have a body that lasts a long time, then there's a long time of living heaven on earth. Heaven on earth means cosmic living inside of a human body. That's the on earth part. So heaven is not a thing. In the Vedic worldview, heaven doesn't exist independently of this relative world. Heaven is seeking embodiment. Heaven wants to live inside of individuality and experience itself, experience all of creation and experience all of relativity inside of a body. And so that's the ideal, heaven on earth, not just heaven by itself. Heaven by itself, boring. Heaven on earth, fantastic.
What would be the role of Punya or spiritual merit in these reincarnations to attain enlightenment?
There's a word in Sanskrit, P-U-N-Y-A, Punya, Punya. And very often it's translated as spiritual merit. That is to say, your kind of cosmic credit rating, your FICO score, your cosmic credit rating. What is your cosmic deserving power? And actually, Punya needs to be properly understood. And what it really means, what its real value is, the percentage to which you are grounded in realization of yourself as universe. So we start off our spiritual progress. I am a human looking for experiences of universality. And so I learn to meditate. And, I learn Vedic meditation. I sit and practice it. And somewhere along the line, I'll have an experience. I'll come out of the meditation and I'll say to my meditation teacher, "What was that? My hands felt giant. My head felt giant. My consciousness felt like it was vast. What is that?" And the teacher will say, "That's the beginning of cosmic consciousness." And you think, "Oh, good, great. My individuality has experienced some universality," right? Now, there's a certain turning point that comes as you continue practicing and you keep on awakening that deep inner vast unboundedness. You start to normalize it. You don't even know anymore. The contrast is gone. You don't know anymore. If the old you could dive into the body and mind of the 5-year practitioner of Vedic meditation, the old you suddenly diving into that mind would think, "Oh my God, I'm as big as the universe." But because you've normalized it, you don't even know that you're like that anymore. You just feel that way all the time. This is an interesting fact of consciousness development. We don't know how vast our consciousness has become. Now, we can kind of tell because we see how other people around us behave. Somebody was going to be watching their favorite TV show and they discovered it was canceled, and then you see them crying for 3 days. And you think, "You're crying about that?" Or they wanted to get a particular flight and it was delayed for an hour, and you see them having a panic attack. And you think, "Well, in other words, you find yourself, compared with others, you find yourself being kind of unfazed by these things. You have a friend and they fell in love with somebody who was a bit of a jerk, and then they said afterward, "Oh, I don't know what happened, my lover's vanished," or whatever. And you're just thinking to yourself, "Well, that's a good thing." But they're crying for a month about having some jerk leave their life. So, what is that? You are becoming the universe, having a human experience. And let's think of this in terms of percentages. the percentage to which you are the universe now having a human experience instead of the opposite. I'm a human occasionally having universal experiences. Now the table has turned, and now I am in higher percentage the universe living inside of humanity, inside of a human body. If that is true to the 60% value, I have 60% punya. If it's true to the 80% value, I have 80% punya. If it's true to 99% value, I have 99% punya. If it's true to 100%, 100% punya. My spiritual merit is exactly the percentage of the degree of my realization of my inner self being no longer lowercase s. My inner self is capital S. I am unified field here, living inside of a body. And so unified field living in a body, to what extent is that your truth? And that will be how much punya you have. This is a very easy way of quantifying spiritual merit or punya. It's not all just like you can't just be some greedy, sniveling little guy who has, lots of punya. Like you could be a regular ignorant person with a great credit rating who's a total ignoramus on earth. But in the cosmic stakes, your punya is exactly the degree, the percentage of your realization. That is your punya. And so punya meaning, if you are 100% punya, I'm 100% universe having a human experience. What is the deserving power of universe having a human experience? What's the deserving power of the universe itself? Well, infinite deserving power. Absolutely infinite. So infinite deserving power. If I have 60% punya, I have 60% deserving power. If I have 99% punya, I have 99% deserving. 100% punya, 100% deserving power. Realization and punya, those two states are locked together, those two words.